Chapter 721, Demon Sun Weighing the East Region. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. Liu Xu had a close relationship with Ningxu and Dao, the master of the Yin and Yang sect. As long as Chifa's identity as demonic saintess was not exposed, she would likely be released if Liu Xu spoke for her. The Liu Xu today and the Liu Xu 200 years ago were worlds apart in cultivation and in status. If Liu Xu had really gone to the Yin and Yang sect to rescue Chifa as Zhang Ruochen thought, it spoke volumes of the depth of his love for Lin Suxian. If that was the case, predecessor Liu Xu had definitely been locked in pain for the past 200 years. Zhang Ruochen sighed in sympathy as he saw his own shadow in Liu Xu. Why couldn't two people be together if they were truly in love? The enemy that stood in the way of Liu Xu was the master of the demonic sect. The enemy that stood in his way was the monstrous Empress Kaiyao. Zhang Ruochen swore to himself that he would practice harder and make himself stronger so that he would not end up like Liu Xu. Only by defeating Kaiyao could he dispel darkness and win light. Boom! A loud sound from the gate caught his attention back from his wandering thoughts. What happened? Glang! The gate was smashed into pieces by an eight-armed, eight-legged man's fist. Strong air surged inward in waves. With a single motion of her sleeve, Aoxinian struck the seething air back with her holy chi. Who is it? Who dares to make trouble in all empty cliff? A disciple of Saint Zai Gentry rose up and roared. The geniuses and talents in the rock cave were all irked by the sudden attack. Who dared to make a commotion here? Tap, tap. 4 human shadows entered and stood in a row. While wrapped in human shape, they radiated the strong aura of savage beasts, and their bodies were strikingly different from those of normal people. All of the monks could see that they were savage beasts disguised in human shape rather than real humans. Looking in the direction of the gate, Zhang Ruochen stared at the man with 8 arms and legs and recognized him as Thunderous Centipede, one of the 36 palace-keeping beast guardians of the demonic sect. Centipede 8. It was obvious that the other 3 were also palace-keeping beast guardians. Demon Sun, Ouyang Huan. A man in the crowd exclaimed in shock. Sure enough, Ouyang Huan stepped forward from behind them wearing a cyan robe. He looked urbane with his gentle expression. His aura, however, left the audience rooted in place with fear. He simply stood there but already hogged the limelight. Why is he here? Aren't people from the central region supposed to be in Belong City? Why did he come here? The name Ouyang Huan was well known, and any geniuses or talents would pale beside with him. The audience retreated to the depths of the rock cave, leaving a broad gap in between. The 4 palace-keeping beast guardians sneered. Centipede 8 chuckled. His Excellency, Divine Sun, heard that the top masters of the younger generation in the eastern region would be gathered here, and he has come here to check if they are eligible for the Sword Technique Conference. The geniuses and talents were all infuriated and disgruntled at his words. How daring! Do you think you have no rivals in the world? You want to challenge the entire cultivation circle by yourself? You should have a good look at yourself first. Before each Sword Technique Conference took place, monks from the 5 domains would compete with each other. It was a good opportunity to know who was the best among the monks and be prepared to avoid taking a beating during the contest. Ouyang Huan walked to a table and sat down. He swept his eyes around the audience and then closed his eyes. A pterosaur the size of a palm peeped out from his sleeve and looked around. It clawed at a wine glass on the table and began to gulp down its contents. Ouyang Huan, you are so conceited. Do you really think you can overpower the entire cultivation circle? Purple Wind Emissary of the Black Market Excellence Hall snorted in contempt and walked toward Ouyang Huan with a dragon-head long spear in hand. Even within the Black Market, geniuses from different regions competed against each other both openly and secretly. They could not accept the fact that the demon son of the demonic sect dared to challenge the entire eastern region cultivation circle alone. Any monk would not bear being humiliated in this way. Ouyang Huan's eyes remained closed and casually asked, Who are you? I'm Purple Wind Emissary from the Black Market Excellence Hall in the eastern region. Purple Wind Emissary said coldly. Ouyang Huan said, if the young Master Yi were alive, even he would still need to practice for another 10 years before he could engage me. As for you, You are nowhere near worthy to challenge me. You can only fight Dragon 3. The veins in the Purple Wind Emissary's temple started to pulse as he went berserk. Who, below the level of half-saints, would dare to look down on him in the eastern region? Swoosh! The long spear in his hands suddenly emitted a blast of purplish icy air that engulfed the rock cave. A dragon was roaring inside the top of the long spear. An illusory image of a 10-meter-long purple dragon appeared and wound around the long spear. Everyone immediately released vigorous chi and shock to fend off the purplish icy air. Those monks who were slower to respond were quickly wrapped by a layer of biting frost and fainted. What a profound cultivation. It is said that Purple Wind Emissary's cultivation is very close to that of a half-saint. Although Purple Wind Emissary is not a saintly being, he is not too inferior to a saint. If he reaches the realm of half-saint, he could skip realms to challenge his rival. Anyone who can become an emissary of the Black Market Excellence Hall in the eastern region is not mediocre. Swoosh! Purple Wind Emissary swung his arms, and the long spear spun around quickly to form an immense whirlpool trained at the center of Ouyang Huan's forehead. Ouyang Huan remained composed and stayed safe and stable on his seat while this was happening. Just as the long spear was about to pierce Ouyang Huan's head, a human shadow flashed before him and reached out, catching the long spear. Just how quick was Purple Wind Emissary? How strong was his power? Yet the human figure caught the long spear just in time. How is it possible? Most of the people in the rock cave gasped in astonishment. They could not believe what they had just seen. The one was holding the spear in hand was a man of about 30, with a pair of 3-inch-long dragon horns on his head. He was wearing a black robe embroidered with a silver crescent-shaped mark on its back. His arms were completely covered with black dragon scales that gave off an ink-black sheen. The icy air prevailed over Purple Wind Emissary's own icy air. This man was Dragon 3, who was ranked 3rd among the 36 palace-keeping beast guardians and had a cultivation at the peak of the 9th change in the fish dragon realm. The blood of divine dragon flowed within his body. If he exposed his true body, it would be more than 1,000 meters long and he would be a world-beating monster. It is said that almost all of the emissaries and the young master of the Black Market Excellence Hall have been killed off. I didn't believe it. Today, though, I find it likely to be true. Seeing that you are this weak. Centipede 8 giggled from a distance. There is a huge gap between the Black Market Excellence Hall of the Central Region and of the Eastern Region. Dragon 3 sneered. At this moment, the top of the long spear was only 17 centimeters away from the center of Ouyang Huan's forehead. Glang! Purple Wind Emissary immediately ran his holy chi and condensed it into a palm. He pushed it against the rear of the long spear, pushing it forward. Dragon 3's eyes darkened and he began to run his dragon chi. He loosened his grip on the long spear and leapt to his feet. As his body moved forward, his palm struck Purple Wind Emissary's chest. Before the long spear struck the center of Ouyang Huan's forehead, Dragon 3's palm already hit Purple Wind Emissary. Rumble. As a result, Purple Wind Emissary's chest was crushed and a rib was broken. He was thrown backward until his body hit a stone pillar. He fell down with a thump. Defensive arrays had been deployed in the rock cave. Even an attack from half-saints would hardly be able to destroy it. The stone pillar just quivered a bit before stabilizing. Dragon 3's overlapping shadows were clear again. He looked at his hands and smiled faintly. Are you qualified to challenge the Divine Sun? The geniuses and talents of the Eastern region were dumbfounded as they looked at Dragon 3 in fear. Purple Wind Emissary's talent was really not outstanding among the 7-star emissaries, but he did reach the peak of the 9th change in the fish dragon realm and had multiple awe-inspiring exploits. How could he be reduced to this with just one move? How formidable Dragon 3's strength was! Chang Kiki and Seek Kong gasped in fear. They had previously witnessed the profundity of Purple Wind Emissary's fighting strength. They could not believe that such a terrible figure was defeated with a single move. The faces of the saints from the Saint Academy who were of the 9th change in the fish dragon realm all turned nasty. Dragon 3's power was beyond their imagination. If one of Ouyang Huan's subordinates was that strong, then how strong would he be? Zhang Yuochen narrowed his eyes and figured out something. It was true that Purple Wind Emissary was weaker than Dragon 3, but he should not have been defeated that quickly. The reason was that the spirit of Purple Wind Emissary's weapon was a dragon soul. And when Dragon 3 held a long spear tight, a blast of black dragon she had rushed into the long spear and subdued the dragon spirit inside. Purple Wind Emissary was unaware of it, and so he was caught off guard and became badly hurt. Only 3 people in the rock cave understood this. Dragon 3 smiled. I have come here today to tell you a truth. That is, the eastern region is merely the size of 3 states of the central region combined. The geniuses and talents from the eastern region could easily be finished off if they were in the central region. Well, as far as I know, for the last few decades, only Zhang Yuochen and Yi from the eastern region have reached the ultimate realm of the heaven realm. None of the young elites from the central region have achieved this. A cold voice echoed in the rock cave. Zhang Yuochen looked in the direction of the voice and his eyes focused on Huang Yanjun. It turned out the voice was hers.